Hi, this is Dodger, and you're watching my show.
Three, two, one, ready, go!
Guys, you have no idea the lengths, the trials, the tribulations I went through to make this camera work today, because my goodness, I was like, well, last time there was no audio, so I want to make sure that there's audio, right? So I double, triple, quadruple, quintuple checked to make sure that when I recorded, there would be audio. Perfectly fine. Audio's coming in crisp, clear, cool, like a summer's eve. So, summer's eve isn't very cool. Anyways, so that was all fine, right? And then I started recording, but after a few seconds, it would just shut the whole thing down. It would be like, all right, no more recording for you. And it was the exact same SD card I had used in this exact same camera multiple times now. No clue what happened there. No idea what went wrong there. So I was doing a bunch of research and everything just kept saying, there's something wrong with your SD card. And I was like, but this SD card works just fine. And guess what? I got a new SD card and now it works great. So a big, heartfelt thank you to all of you on Twitter who tried to help me troubleshoot this whole contraption. Okay, let's do the news. So for those of you who don't know, E3 just happened. It's a very, very large gaming convention that happens in America, specifically in Los Angeles. It's a big trade show. It's a time where lots of different big businesses send out their fanciest suited gentlemen and ladies, and they all exchange business cards and eyebrow wiggle at each other. So along with that, we wind up getting lots of cool deets about games that are coming up and technology that is on the rise, lots of VR stuff, as you would probably guess. When it comes to who won in terms of the press conferences, I'm gonna go ahead and keep my opinions to myself until the end of this news episode. What we will talk about a bit more is the new God of War game, because it's divided people. It's divided people quite a bit. They put out some gameplay. It does not look like a God of War game anymore. It's taking place in a completely different location, right? So a lot of people are going, man, this isn't really a God of War game. I don't know how to feel. But there have been lots of theories and speculations about whether or not you actually even play Kratos in this game, which is kind of interesting because in the demo that they showed during the press conferences, you have a child with you the whole time who's calling you daddy, and you're like, oh, Kratos started over. He's got a new little baby child, right? And so suddenly everyone was going, man, Kratos looks super old in this. Maybe what happens is like he dies really early on in the game, and then you play the kid instead. Whoa. Since they apparently just don't like us to craft fan theories and have fun, they immediately shot down that theory. So now what they're saying is not only will you be playing Kratos for the entire game, your kid will also be there for the entire game. I'm like pretty surprised that they even told us that. There were a lot of things that happened at this E3 during press conferences where I was like, are we seeing behind the veil a little too much here? Like, I feel like I'm getting almost too much, you know? But they even said that you have like a button, a specific button that is just for interacting with your child. So there's that. Y'all ready to take down some Norse gods? Because we killed all the other ones. Some Overwatch deets, specifically when it comes to competitive play. They did some reworking, they did some rebalancing, and if you're thinking to yourself, oh god, please, please just tell me that McCree got nerfed, please, then you're in luck. McCree definitely got nerfed, thank goodness, because I cannot watch another match where an entire team is just McCree's. So before, as McCree, you could basically take down anybody, right? Like, you could take down a tank easy peasy, and that made zero sense. I think the best piece of information about this, the clearest piece of information, I guess, is that his bullet damage has gone down from 70 to 45. So for any of you who are going to sit there and do the number crunching, basically that means that he can't use his fire everything, roll, fire everything again to take down just anybody, right? He can still do it with a Genji. He can still take down really squishy people easily, but he won't be able to just like take down a Reinhardt with that combo, you know? Widowmaker also got a nerf. I was mopping up my sweet fiance's tears earlier. So along with some damage reworking in terms of like body shots not being quite as much, but headshots being worth more and things like that, I think the thing that people are talking about the most is the fact that when you unscope, you have to wait for the entire animation to finish of unscoping before you can scope in again. This was being, I don't know how to put it. Basically, before, when you would scope in and like wait until it did maximum damage and then shoot, you could unscope for a split second and then get back in there and then get that maximum damage really fast. So they decided to not let people abuse that anymore. So if you're gonna unscope, you have to wait for the whole animation to happen. So it really behooves you to just like stay scoped in, you know? And again, some people are very upset. Some people are like, thank God. If you play Zenyatta, suddenly a body shot won't kill you. Oh, thank goodness. Now in terms of specifically competitive play, there's actually a video that addresses a lot of changes that are gonna be made. Things like, they're sort of adjusting stuff so that overtime doesn't happen as often, so that it means more when overtime does happen. Also, what was the other one that I thought was pretty cool? Hold on. Oh, they're increasing the season length. So they are doing seasons, but like, they're saying it'll last 3 months, but it's really gonna be like 2.5 months, and then there'll be a break in between seasons, and then a new season will start, that sort of a thing. You'll also be able to tell if people are in a group, if they were grouped up before they came into the game, which I think is awesome. And the last one is that there will be competitive specific rewards, but they're still only cosmetic. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I mean, they said that they were gonna rework competitive play quite a bit, and it sounds like they really are. So that's awesome. The Steam controller got an update that gives you even more optimization. It'll now allow you to customize literally every single button on the controller. Oh hey, the Hells Angels are back. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for the donuts. Anyways, I kind of feel like this is something that was going to happen regardless, because there's so many different games on Steam, right? And they tried to create a controller that you could use to play any game on Steam. But inevitably, because every game is different, controls are gonna always be different, inevitably you're gonna be playing and be like, God, this isn't working for me, this doesn't work, right? So the ability to be able to go in and just rebind everything makes so much sense to me. It's a beta client called Activators, and it says, activators sit between inputs, such as a button on the controller, and binding outputs, like key press. They control how the input is turned into output and provide a number of settings to control this. Some simple examples are long press, double press, binding, cycling, toggles, and delays. There's no limit to the number of activators that can be placed on a single input, so a button can have a normal press, a long press, a double tap on a single button, each firing off completely different actions in a game. That's like so specific in a great way, right? You could be playing and you could make it so that a button not only has you walk, but if you hold the button, then you run, or you could shoot normally, but if you double tap the button, then you rapid fire shoot, like whatever, I don't know. There are games out there that do that, right? But I just love this idea of saying, okay, you know what? This game isn't super comfortable. Like a lot of people are having issues with it, and the ones who are enjoying it the most are modders, like people who are trying to just figure out how to finnick with it, right? So why not give them the tools to finnick properly? Something that started off as an April Fool's joke has turned out to be one of the coolest things on the floor at E3, in my opinion. It is called the Smartboy. Ding. It's literally a device that looks like the bottom half of a Game Boy, and you put your smartphone in it, and then you're able to play emulators on your phone with the controls of a Game Boy. I absolutely love this idea. And I love that the idea was bred from a joke, like a goof, right? That they were like, hey, wouldn't that be funny? And they made it, and it works. And people are saying, yeah, it's totally responsive. It feels great. The one thing that sucks, but I get it, is that it only works on Android right now. Or at least the only way that they're displaying it right now works on Android. They've talked about it working for iOS. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it only worked for Android, just because Androids are much easier to customize in a lot of ways. They're not quite as like, this is what we do, and don't mess with what we do, because this is the system that we have in place, and you can't mess with it, right? With Android phones, you're allowed to do basically whatever you want. You can treat it like a PC, right? So it makes sense that at the very least it was easier to figure out how to make it work with an Android phone, right? But they also apparently on the Google Play Store have a lot of Game Boy specific emulators on there, like for Game Boy games. So that also sort of ties in, right? Just sort of makes the whole process a bit smoother. So yeah, I love that idea. I think it looks hilarious and also amazing. Like, I think the nostalgic feeling of holding a Game Boy again would be awesome. Anyways, so the official release, possibly December. Do you like how firm that is? Anyway, so beyond that, it's really just all E3 stuff. It's rehashing E3 stuff. I don't want to go over all of that again because I've already talked about it twice on 2 different podcasts. I was on Dropped Frames for like 3 days talking about it, and like actively responding to the press conferences as they were happening, and that was super fun. So I'll link to those in the end slate, and I'll also, if it's up, I think it should be, I'll also link to the co-optional podcast because we also discussed at length everything that we saw from the press conferences at E3 there. I did not actively go to E3, so I can't give you any insight there, but the press conferences were really, really cool to watch, and still, in my opinion, Sony won. I felt that Sony had the most games that I was interested in and the most just straightforward, games are art, here's some games showcase. But I can appreciate, because my deep down heart loves me some Zelda, I can appreciate that looking at what games people are hyped for the most, Zelda is like double the amount of hype of everything else. And I think the fact that it can still get people so excited after the franchise has been around for so long is awesome. Anywho, that's been my show. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad that I actually got to record it. I'm so glad that we managed to fix it, that it all worked out. I hope you enjoyed. If you have a positive or a negative response, feel free to leave it in my comment section. And if you would like to see my Twitch streams, I stream 5 times a week now on twitch.tv/dexteritybonus. You can find my schedule at pressstart2continue.com/schedule for that. And also, we have Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter going up as a playthrough right now. More Hustle Cat will be coming soon, and also possibly a cool special thing with Jesse eventually. So I'm very excited about all of that. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, for being awesome, and I will see you guys next week. Okay? Mwah! Bye-bye! Summer's Eve isn't very cool.